Alright guys, I know you've been waiting for guides on some of the decks from the new Deep in Motion main box, and don't worry, we got the sauce for you. But a few of these decks are either only supported a little bit, or are just really easy to explain. So, rather than making a whole video for each of them, this video is going to be going through all three of them. Those being S-Force, Heroes, and Crusadia. Probably the easiest one to talk about first of all is Crusadia. I know I'm kind of cheating with this one since technically it didn't receive any support from this box, but technically it was supported by the new skill, Legend of Heroes. If you don't know how to play this deck in either of its variations, go ahead and check out our advanced guide on it, which goes over both versions. Once you've seen that, come back to this video for new info. Alright, now, if you've seen that video, or you know how about this deck in general, then you know that this deck used to play the 3 effects skill, which let it gain an absurd amount of life points, but since that skill has been nerfed, it's still a playable skill. But the new Legend of Heroes skill technically basically does the same thing as the current 3 effects skill, but better, because on your third turn and beyond, you can return 4 link monsters from your grave back to the extra deck in order to put Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avramax into the extra deck. This guy requires entirely monsters summoned from the extra deck. In Crusadia, that is actually pretty easy, since you can turn any of the monsters into a link 1. As a follow-up play, you could do this using whatever Crusadia you have on board and any other Crusadia in hand. Let's say that the one you have on board is an Equimex, so you link the Equimex off into Magius, then summon another Crusadia from hand to the zone it points to. The Magius will search a copy of Draco for you, then you can activate the skill to put 4 links back into the extra deck. You can use your Crusadia and your Magius to go into one of your link 2s, summon Draco to the zone it points to, and add back a Crusadia you haven't summoned this turn yet, which will surely be in your grave from the early game. Then you can link Draco and your link 2 into Equimex, summon the Crusadia you added back with a Draco, then turn that Crusadia into another copy of Magius that you shuffle back with the skill. And since you have the link 3 and the link 1 together, they can link into the link for Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avramax. Let's look at Avramax himself though. Why on earth would we try to summon him in the first place? Avramax is untargetable and he redirects all of the opponent's attacks towards himself. The thing is, those special summon monsters that he battles have to face his quick effect to gain those monsters' attack points, so they won't be able to crash into him because he will always be 3,000 attack points bigger than him. If they do manage to get rid of him though, he will non-target spin an opponent's card into the deck, so it is pretty much never a safe time for the opponent while he is on the field. The skill provides Crusadia with a couple of neat things, the first of which being the life gain. Gaining 2,000 life points isn't as good as 3FX used to be, but it is better than 3FX is currently. The second thing that is nice about the deck is that because of the extra deck restrictions, we are only able to really get the main play of the deck off twice, once for turn 1 and then again for the second turn, in a way similar to how I explained you can go into Avramax just without the Avramax and his skill, but letting us go into the play a third time gives us more grind game. As far as going to the Avramax is concerned though, we have to keep in mind that we would be using an Equimex and most likely a Magius that was made with a Maximus in order to go into it. If we had just kept the Equimex and the Maximus, chances are we would have been able to go for game anyway, in a way making the Avramax just a flex. Avramax is certainly a great card, but once you've gotten to that late game stage, a boss monster like that is only really flexing. I think that this skill is best for its link recursion and its life gain, and the fact that it can be used generically. For example, in Life Twins. But the Avramax part of the skill, unfortunately, is coming in a bit too late for Crusadias to benefit too much from it, because at that point, they will most likely just be winning from the Equimex they will be able to go into. I've actually been playing this deck a lot since this skill dropped, and I've gone on several win streaks. Honestly, this might be one of my new favorite decks, but to be real with you guys, even though I love Avramax, I have never been in a situation where I could both summon him and it was the right decision to do so. This is only something you can really do as a flex move. The optimal play most of the time is just to attack with a boosted and double damaging Equimex. So the next deck we got to talk about is Heroes. This is simultaneously the one that is the most changed by the new box, but also probably the simplest deck to actually play, because the skill lets you normal summon Neos or Yubel without tributing, and by doing so in a similar way to a previous hero skill that lets you search for super play as an interruption or board breaker, or Miracle Contact to get out the deck's boss monster and recycle the deck's resources, or a copy of Neos in order to actually help you get you players going. The skill also lets you send a Yubel to grave in order to set a higher grade of Yubel from outside of the deck. A cool thing about summoning Yubel is you can send it to the grave to set a Terra Incarnate, and you can flip summon it, which will let you send it to the grave to set the Ultimate Nightmare, then flip summon it, which will allow you to use the skill again to get a search off. None of these things are once per duel or once once per turn, just really limited by the fact you can only get one normal summon per turn. If you are unaware of how the Yubels work, Ultimate Nightmare can't be destroyed by battle, and the opponent takes damage instead of you for the battles it is involved in, and it destroys any monster it battles too, and it can still be removed by card effects without an issue. The main thing is the boss monster that requires both Yubel and Neos to summon, Elemental Hero Neos Kluger. This guy does half damage to the opponent for the attack value of the monsters it battles, and if it's destroyed by battle or leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, you get to summon a Neos Wise Man from the deck. This is mainly meant to have some decent protection, staving the opponent off from attacking into it by threatening them with burn, and floating into the Neos Wise Man as a survival play. And Neos Wise Man himself can't be destroyed by card effects, and if it battles a monster, the opponent takes burn equal to their monster's attack, and you gain life equal to their monster's defense, staving them off from attacking into him even further, basically giving this version of heroes a pretty solid way to guarantee that they can get a follow-up play. It's not a strong enough game plan on its own, but because of the simplicity of how the deck works, the deck also has a decent amount of room for back row, so you can play whatever you want in these slots. It is worth mentioning that the skill locks you into the archetype, so you can't use something like Ice Dragon's Prison. Besides that, the Neos Kluger is limited to 3, and since it is a fusion monster that requires Neos, we can actually use Neos Fusion to cheat it out while also giving it more protection. So you could play 2 Neos Fusion and 1 Kluger and have more monsters in the extra deck that Neos Fusion can summon, like Brave Neos and Grand Mole. And all 3 of these Neos Fusions can also be summoned using the Miracle Contact that the skill can guarantee us, as long as we have a Neos or Yubel to normal summon. The way a lot of games go is that we burn the opponent to death with a Kluger, Wise Man, and Yubel, and we can use Super Poly to break their board to make interruption or going for gain easier. And because of Super Poly, the extra deck is full of all the different attributes of hero fusions you can go into using the opponent's monsters, other than water of course, because we don't have that one in the game just yet. This is honestly a really solid deck Konami gave us, and it simulates the anime game plan that they were going for in a way that can be competitively viable. This is a pretty solid rogue deck, and what's better is that this deck is really damn cheap. If you are new to the game, it would not be that hard to get the core cards for this deck. The last deck to talk about is S-Force. If you don't know how S-Force works, please go watch the S-Force video, then come back to this one. It is definitely going to be important to know S-Force, understand the rest of what I'm going to be talking about here. So you probably know, if you saw the video, that the thing that makes this deck worth playing is the Ultra Mega send you directly to hell, do not pass go, do not collect $200 tactical nuke, S-Force Chase. Being able to banish your opponent's field during their plays is still absurd, and if you are playing S-Force, this is the card that you should be aiming to go for. With one of the new cards, Retroactive, there is actually an additional interruption you can get on top of the chase. Retroactive is like this archetype's version of Microcoder. If you are trying to summon an S-Force Link monster, you can use this guy from your hand as one of that monster's material. Because of this, it's actually possible for us to Link summon S-Force Justify more consistently, and this guy is basically a monster negate, plain and simple. He does more, but the easiest way to put it is that he's a monster negate. Everything else you need to know about him is explained in the S-Force Advanced Guide. So we have removal with the S-Force Chase, and now we have a monster negation with the Justify, and easier access with the Retroactive. You likely won't have 3 banishes with the Chase, but having 2 separate interruptions in most matchups is worth slightly nerfing the Chase, since Chase is most likely going to be getting rid of at least 2 cards. Since the main combo of the deck often gets 3 monsters on board, you can still use the 2 from the field with 1 Retroactive in hand to go into the Justify, and you'll have the 1 Justify and the 1 remaining monster on the field for your Chase. The Retroactive also has the same grave effect as Chase to banish itself from the grave in order to replace the cost of one of your S-Force monsters on field effects, like the Rapper Chiamaru on follow-up play, but also like the other new card Lapsowell, who on special summon can revive an S-Force monster from grave, and you can also banish an S-Force monster from your hand, or of course a Retroactive or a Chase from grave, in order to destroy all the opponent's monsters that are in the same columns as your S-Force monsters. As if this deck didn't have enough nukes. But basically, what this deck does at 1 copy in your deck is allow you to have something you can summon from the deck using Chiamaru on your follow-up play that can help you recover immediately. Being able to summon this from your deck, then revive another from grave basically for free, since your grave is almost definitely going to have something to replace this guy's cost, as well as something to replace Chiamaru's cost. So really, the opening play of the deck in the past gave you somewhat of a follow-up play just by having the Chiamaru in hand and then Chase in the grave, but now we have that plus the ability to summon Lapsowell and have a Retroactive in grave to make the follow-up even stronger, on top of the fact that the Retroactive is also making our turn 1 play even stronger. Since Effect Veiler can stop Chiamaru though, we have Book of Moon to flip our own Chiamaru down in order to prevent that Veiler. Our Chiamaru will still fully resolve, allowing our play to go through and our follow-up to be secured. Since one of our main goals of the new version of this deck is to summon the Link 3 Justify, we can also take advantage of the bonus life points of the Legend of Heroes skill to make it easier for us to survive until our follow-up turn. If you've played S-Force before, or at least watched our video on it in the past, you'll know this deck has a really nice grind game, basically doing the same thing repeatedly. And I'll let you know that it's pretty much the exact same now, it's just that we are doing even more repeatedly. If you want to talk about the intricacies of this deck more at length though, be sure to join the Team 6K community Discord. The link is in description, and you can talk to our current Intercontinental Champion Aloysius, who tested the hell out of this deck to find the best way to play it, or if I'm available, you can talk to me as well. Both of us will be able to help you out with whatever you need. I hope that this video has been helpful to you. Let me know how you feel about this style of video where I go over multiple updates in one sitting, and if you have any more questions about any of these decks or in general, be sure to leave them in the comments and we can talk about it. If you like the video, then slap like now, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell to get notified every time we make a new video. Have yourselves a good one, guys, and I've been Undead from Team 6K, signing out.
Hey, why they gotta hate on me? I done got me 250,000 views and they still saying they low key. They ain't wanna come work with the kid, but I'm flexing with Zay on beats. How they ask for a spot at the gym, but they leave all the weight on me. I don't ask them to wait on me. They would ask where they gon' be with a song if they wanted the weatherman. I ain't asking to pay no fees. She was homeless and needed a spot. I ain't ask her to pay no lease. I ain't ask her to say no please. I ain't ask her to make no cheese. Scream fake, but it ain't on me. Got clean, so it ain't no streets. Why green if it ain't no keeps? Brought cream, so it ain't no beef. My team say it ain't no chief. My demon, they hang on me. They seemingly ain't no peace. I seen him, he ain't no beast. For